Picture this. You're strolling through your local summer farmer's market. You're picking up some heirloom tomatoes, maybe some artisan sourdough, and legal, locally grown cannabis.
Yeah, that is exactly the reality we are looking at this summer.
Right, so today we're taking your notes and the finalized state regulations to do a deep dive into the brand new Cannabis Showcase Event Rules, or CSEs. And these just passed unanimously yesterday, April 2nd, 2026.
It is just a massive shift in how the product actually moves. I mean, our mission for this deep dive is to break down exactly how these pop-up events will operate for you, the consumer.
And for the industry too, right?
Yeah.
Because they have to navigate a really highly specific set of new rules.
Oh, absolutely. And since you already follow this space, you probably know cultivators have been sitting on this crushing 356,000-pound surplus of product.
Which is just a wild amount to think about.
It really is. And to understand the state's solution to this, we have to look at the operational structure they are calling the three-legged stool. Because if you want to host an event, it is not just a free-for-all.
Right, you need a strict partnership. It's at least one retailer, one cultivator, and one processor, right?
Exactly. And that requirement is really all about maintaining the established chain of custody.
So the cultivators and processors can be there in person, hand you a jar to look at, maybe explain the genetics to you.
Yeah, but when it comes to the actual transaction, only the retail dispensary partner is legally allowed to run the point of sale.
Okay, so it reminds me a lot of a craft brewery tour.
Yeah.
The master grower can totally geek out with you over terpene profiles and soil quality, but at the end of the tour, only the retail partner can actually swipe your credit card.
That is a perfect analogy, and that separation of powers solves a massive physical bottleneck. I mean, picture warehouses literally overflowing with last season's harvest, just slowly degrading in value.
Yeah, they desperately need these showcases to move that mountain of biomass into consumer hands before it goes bad.
Right, but the state still demands strict tax and compliance oversight at the register. So the stool structure balances both of those needs.
Okay, so because you have to physically coordinate these three separate businesses just to make a single sale, the next obvious hurdle is where you actually put them.
Yeah, the location rules are fascinating.
And put a cap on this, right? Like a maximum of 45 days per location per calendar year. You do farmers markets or self-organized pop-ups, but they drew a hard line banning major festivals or concerts.
Exactly. So Madison Square Garden is completely out. They want these to remain temporary showcases, not permanent shadow dispensaries or, mega events.
Right, but by defining the locations this way, didn't they accidentally create a sort of loophole?
Yeah, what the Office of Cannabis Management is calling a trial balloon. Because these temporary events can actually be hosted in municipalities that previously opted out of retail dispensaries.
Wait, okay, let's unpack this. Does this mean a town that actively voted to ban dispensaries could essentially approve a 45-day temporary pop-up dispensary?
Yes. As long as the town approves the specific event permit, it essentially acts as a Trojan horse.
Wow, so the state inadvertently created a massive geographic expansion for access?
Exactly. I mean, a local town council might be terrified of approving a permanent brick-and-mortar storefront, but a Wind-End farmer's market booth feels much less threatening.
Right. It's a backdoor way to test the waters in entirely new markets without overturning local laws. But before you start mapping out a statewide summer tasting tour, there are two major catches hidden in the fine print.
There always are.
First, there is strictly no on-site consumption allowed at all.
Yeah, you're basically buying it like a bottle of wine at a vineyard. You purchase it directly from the source, but you have to take it home to actually pop the cork.
Because the state's consumption lounge regulations just aren't finalized yet, right?
Right, so they are keeping a very tight lid on public use at these pop-ups.
Makes sense. But the second catch involves micro-businesses, and I am a bit confused by this one. The law currently says micro-businesses cannot operate as both the supplier and the retailer at these events.
Yeah, it is incredibly frustrating for those smaller operators.
Because micro-businesses are essentially the ultimate craft growers. Why lock them out of running a farmer's market-style event on their own? That just feels completely backward.
It does, and it really comes down to how the original legalization was drafted. The foundational laws strictly firewalled growers from retailers to prevent corporate monopolies.
Basically making sure no one massive company could own the plant from seed to sale.
Exactly. And because microbusinesses uniquely hold both cultivation and retail privileges under one single license, they accidentally got caught in the crossfire of this new specific language. Even the state regulators admit it's a flaw.
So they just have to wait for a fix?
Pretty much. They are actively seeking a legislative amendment, but until the legislature actually votes to change that wording, those craft microbusinesses are stuck.
Stuck needing to split their profits with an outside retail partner just to show up at a pop-up.
Exactly, which is a tough pill to swallow for small businesses.
And the clock is ticking on getting those partnerships formed. Because the event applications require a 45-day lead time for approval, if operators hustle to get their three-legged stools together right now, we will start seeing these showcases pop up right around Memorial Day.
Right, so it is going to be a crucial summer for moving that surplus product and really introducing legal sales to communities that have been completely isolated from the market so far.
Which leaves you with this to think about. If these temporary Trojan horse showcases succeed peacefully in those stubborn opt-out towns,
Yeah.
will it trigger a domino effect?
That is the big question.
Right. Could seeing a craft strain sitting safely next to the local heirloom tomatoes finally convince local governments to reverse their permanent dispensary bans? We'll just have to wait and see.